This is Black History Month. Now, what does a cracker from northern Massachusetts have to offer in a discussion about the importance of Black History Month? In ordinary years, perhaps you could argue would not as much as some others. But as so many parts of our society are under pressure, under assault, then when another brother, sister, friend, cohort, or compatriot is under pressure, we got to stick together. Collective action. Yeah, I say that a lot, but it applies here too. My apologies. Got a little bit of wind and some trucks running around outside, so bear with me. But because I'm I'm limited intellectually and philosophically, and in many other ways. The best way that I can view contributions in the Black History Month context, I think of civil rights. We very recently talked about Jesse Jackson. And through Jesse Jackson, we talked about Dr. King and one of the most troubling and delightful episodes was Fred Hampton, who was murdered by some combination of the Chicago police, the Cook County Sheriff's Police, the Illinois State Police, J. Edgar Hoover, just about everybody. And this man whose life was uh, snuffed out at age 21, who was showing such immense promise as a young leader, and his legacy is inspiring today. And I was more inspired with the study of it. But because, as I mentioned, my limitations as intellectually and as a human otherwise, when I think about great civil rights champions, I think of it in the context of sports because, XY chromosome limitations. I ain't that bright, and I'm just, just a guy that grew up in Boston as a sports fanatic. But it's an interesting framing because there are some, and just going back through the 20th century, there are some very inspiring stories of great African American or or Black athletes that that drove uh, civil rights through the power of their will and by their, and some people are not, you know, some people in the world don't have as loud a mouth as I have, which is probably a good thing, but my wife would say it's a great thing. But people don't feel compelled. You think of great African American athletes. Tiger Woods, flawed human being as I am, and as everybody that's listening. Uh, sure, he had some problems in relationship issues that came out through his career. Whatever, especially in the Trump era, we're not judging because there's so much more absolutely fucking horrible thing, every single day. So, but Tiger was not a, I would argue, not a vociferous civil rights champion, at least not by words, right? He by the awesomeness of Tiger Woods, the golfer, he integrated more fully a sport that is still badly in need of more integration, right? So those country club sports, particularly golf and tennis. I don't know any great croquet players. Uh, just by his electric personality and just going back to his appearance with his father on Merv Griffin, going back a little bit, probably in the that would have been his age in the 70s. He, by the force of will and the brilliance of his play, he forced changes at Augusta, which is Augusta National, where they play the Masters, is like one of the greatest known, internationally renowned Ku Klux Klan hangouts of all time. They have like club members named Hootie and things like that. So this is not a welcoming enclave, but Tiger did his part by being awesome. Did he stand up and loudly proclaim the need for change, for more integration at every level of professional golf? I don't know that he did, but he was so incredibly awesome at what he did. By that alone, we have to give a little bit of grace to Tiger. Right? Uh, Tennis. We'll stick with the country club sports. On the male tennis side, the one that stands out is Arthur Ashe, a man of tremendous dignity, a brilliant man, soft spoken and charismatic, and did more for the world. Just the amount that he spoke out for HIV research and such things. He gave back 900 more times than he took in life, which we all wish we could say, and it's not always the case. But Ash, well, he won three three majors, right? He won Wimbledon last, Open first, and probably an Australian in the middle, right? Um, and spoke out at the time he was playing, much like Billie Jean King for pay equity and other issues did in the middle. But Arthur Ashe was, and after his playing career, was eloquent speaking out for civil rights on so many different levels. It would be its own podcast. But again, a brilliant, thoughtful, everything about Arthur was pretty fantastic. In staying in tennis, and we'll switch over to the more impressive double X part of the program, and go back to Althea Gibson. She was the first African American of any gender to win a tennis major, right? And that was before Arthur, so that was a decade before. He won 68. So I'm going to say maybe she won her first of two or three majors in the late 50s or early 60s. So, magnificent and on another level. Again, Althea Gibson, not the most outgoing civil rights table thumper, and not the uh, most aggressive advocate for civil rights ever. Unfair for me to say yes. I wasn't there at that time and was not was not a woman for a very long time, if I was ever, and was never a professional athlete or certainly an African American one. So it's hard for me to say, but I'm just comparing it to other athletes I'm going to come to later, that such as Arthur Ashe, that chose to use their platform to bravely, to courageously stand up for equality, inclusion, for DEI, which is a perfectly acceptable and necessary part of our world, and will, the silly screaming of the MAGA diaper crowd about DEI is it's an embarrassment. It's racism. I mean, call it for what it is. Those senators, that one from Tennessee, who I forget his name, but he's the one that was, famous for, that the only reason Kamala's there is that she was a DEI hire in the first place, as a freaking, she was the lead law enforcement professional in the state of California, which is larger than the majority of countries in the world. And she was a DEI hire, so whatever, you go back to the bourbon and all that stuff. Yeah. So, Althea Gibson, and of course, the Williams sisters, right? Who took the tennis world by storm and persisted over a long period of time. Um, Venus, the elder of the two sisters, I think, with had some more profound medical challenges that kept her from competing as much as perhaps she would have liked for a period of time. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but both she and Serena, who are both just, awesome in every single part of their existence. Beautiful, talented, eloquent, fashionable. As if I knew, I'm God wears a freaking hat all the time, but design their own clothing line. So multi-talented, but do not miss an opportunity, and haven't since they were very young, to stand up as their very domineering father, Richard, was, loud and proud, and thank God for him and his daughters. Right? Yeah. So let's take a trip through NFL and memory lane, and Jim Brown, who was, I'll argue, just I love Jim Brown because he played football in a particular kind of way, in a he had a punishing style of running that was appealing to a young person coming up playing football. He was worthy of adoration. He was a unique kind of guy, and he was also a very outgoing civil rights activist, as a player, and even more so after the fact. And the fun fact, Jim Brown, is that he was the only sport that I ever played well. I mean, to a certain level of competition in my life, not as a professional, but was lacrosse. Any sport where they hand you a weapon and say, "Have a good time," right? As the kids say, OBV, get on with it. Let's go. And that Jim Brown perhaps was an even greater lacrosse player than a football player. The fact that it can be argued is pretty amazing. Now, he's not the most amazing all-round athlete that we're going to talk about today. But as far as a civil rights leader, that used his tremendous platform and the way that he was programmed in the factory was as a very strong, aggressive advocate for civil rights. He was unique in that way. I my I'm gonna do my personal favorite now, which because I'm a Boston guy, is Bill Russell. Mhm. There is anytime people start talking about the best, the GOAT best player, who is the best basketball player of all time, and you can reasonably argue that you can take MJ and LeBron and put them on a pedestal and say to the other folks that belong in the neighborhood, come and get us. Right. That's fair. Right. I mean, if you look at the just go the stats. Now, playing in different eras against different levels of competition, all of those things, they go into the calculus. Just zipping back when I was thinking about this morning, Tiger has Tiger won more majors than Jack, and at this stage in Tiger's age, he's not Tiger's not going to catch Jack. What is he? A couple behind, a couple few behind. It's not going to happen. But was Tiger playing in an era where he was playing against more players of higher skill, higher caliber than Jack was when Jack was winning? Yes, that's true. So how do you balance that? It's not my place. And I'm was never a great golfer, enjoyed it a lot until I couldn't see the ball anymore, and it kind of took some of the fun out of the game. So it's the whole ball contact thing with golf is a key element of enjoying the game. So yeah. Anyways, so we're back to Bill Russell, Boston, my hometown, thought of as a progressive city, but then is it progressive? Is it socially progressive? Politically progressive? In what way? You know, great educational institutions, many of which are under attack by your cartoon president. But a city where students come together from around the world and enjoy each other's company and are better for the experience. It's the Athens of America. Now, when Bill Russell was coming up and being awesome in Boston, Boston was a much different kind of city. It was a different country, but Boston had its own racial issues, and they bloomed in busing, which we got in what was it, Judge Arthur Garrity or Garrity. I'm just blanking on that. Back there was a busing crisis where kids from predominantly black neighborhoods were bused to South Boston, which was a white Irish neighborhood made famous by Whitey Bulger and others, Irish Catholic, and vice versa. And so that stress in Boston was very public in the 70s, and it was similar to a post I put up earlier today that was a reflection or a depiction from I think from Montgomery, Alabama, but it was similar, forced integration of schools. And we're going back to one of our other heroes, which is when Dwight Eisenhower called out the National Guard to escort student, that we don't have a great history of that in our country. What we're trying to accentuate some of the positive today. So I'll get off of the busing action. But Boston was not great. And a lot of people are like, yeah, in the North, everybody's very open-minded. And they're very welcoming, and it's a more diverse and open-minded. It is now, wasn't then, and we still have issues, as every city does, and every city in the United States has issues that are exacerbated by by the people at on Pennsylvania Avenue, who are either not doing their job on the one end of the avenue, in the Congress, or those that are doing too much of their job in your President Massengill Mussolini, and actively pursuing racist policies for the entertainment of their core constituency. I guess why else would you do it? It's cruelty for the sake of cruelty, and ice, and all of that kind of stuff. But Bill Russell, he wasn't. Bill was actively involved. He was actively involved. He the greatest player of all time, in my humble opinion, because in the context of the time, the defense that he played, and at least if you want to fight on LeBron and MJ being better, having better scoring statistics and total points and all that, fine. But which one of them? And LeBron's still a young man, but Bill Russell went on to be an exceptional coach, right? And he had a long career, and he led by example, and he was standing within 15 feet of Dr. King when he gave his famous speech on the mall. So uh, Bill was actively involved. He started after Medgar Evers' killing. He started integrated basketball leagues in Alabama. And I mean, he walked the walk, right? He did the thing, and he did it his entire life. And he was unapologetically outgoing and pointed and a truth teller until the day that he died, which is not that long ago. He was a one of the most, in my humble opinion, yeah, I'm a Boston guy. Yeah, I'm biased. Absolutely. But besides being the best, the most consequential man to the game of basketball in my lifetime, and to the league in my lifetime, player, coach, and civil rights ad, hands down. I get my vote. He's my vote. He's number one. And this is a nonviolent protest, but I'll fight you in the comments, and you can tell me. And I'm setting. The rule is who is, and you probably are a much younger person just by statistical probability, but who, in your estimation, is the most important African American athlete in the area of civil rights, human rights. You can expand that any way you care to, but this is the waning days of Black History Month. So let's stay with civil rights and equality, inclusion, and other such concepts that are under constant assault. And fight me on that in the comments and give me your idea. Send an image, send an argument, send bad words if you want. If you want, bad words are fine. Not distasteful ones, but I'm I had thick skin before they shot the radiation gun at me, and now I'm I guess you could call me bulletproof, almost. So not literally. Yeah. Excuse me. Excuse me. Take a drink. Yeah. So, Bill, the man, Boston, he is Boston to me. He's Boston sports to me. He is Celtics to me. He is, Tom Brady's great. Bobby Orr, greater, great, also great. Yeah. Um, but Boston sports for me, if I had to have one shirt, one jersey to have it buried with me in or lit on fire when I go into the firebox at the end of this wonderful journey. Hopefully not today. Then it would be Bill Russell, because he was the one that, when I think back over the years and say, who is the man, because I don't follow women's sports in Boston all that much. So that's my I'm not opposed to watching them. I just don't know a lot about them. But if I was to say, who is the Boston athlete who filled me with the greatest sense of pride in my lifetime? Larry Bird, fantastic. Lived in his hometown once in '82. Yeah. No, Larry Legend. But what what is the player that fills me with the sense of pride, and particularly when I'm putting it in the context of Black History Month and all of the things that have been ailing our country forever, but are particularly in bad shape under your boy DJT. It's Bill Russell. It's Bill Russell all day long, all day long. Big Poppy, fantastic. Quoting Big Poppy, this is our fucking city. But it's Bill, because it was every effing day, every day with Bill. Okay. So there's I didn't have my Celtics hat on today, but he is evergreen, ever glorious, and will always be smiling down benevolently but critically on the city of Boston, because uh, he was not Pollyannish about the shortcomings of the city of Boston: integration, equality, pay equity, all of the things. And he spoke out about it, and he didn't do it quietly, which we all miss him and appreciate. So I guess if I'm going, I took my hometown guy, but the ones that people think about at the top of their Mount Rushmore, if I had my private Mount Rushmore, which I will today, because it's my day. I'm DJT. I'm going to make Black History Month about me. No, I'm not. But you know what I mean. This is my shot at trying to give grace and glory to some people that deserve it. So while Bill is the first guy on Mount Rushmore, and there will be four people, three men and a woman, and I'm leaving lots of people off, and I'm leaving lots of people, younger, more contemporary people, off, because I have a bias which says the people that spoke out most aggressively in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s were doing so at greater risk. So I'm giving them extra points for extra courage. Fair, not fair? My list doesn't have to be yours. And again, fight me in the comments all day long. Welcome, welcome any interaction, any engagement that you care to provide. And and I get this off, and and all of the subscribe, restack stuff, the share with friends part, as uh, you know, Black History Month. There must be a tremendous appetite for the thoughtful opinions of crackers from northern Massachusetts. But if you know anybody that falls into that niche, then go ahead and share it with them. So um, so let's pivot to Muhammad Ali. Uh, Posted something from Ali today. I'm not sure if I think it was probably on IG and not in the Substack feed, but it was an interview, and I don't even know who. Maybe it was David Frost. It was an English dude. It might have been David Frost. I wasn't paying attention to him. I was, because as Muhammad Ali reminded you constantly, he was pretty. One of the most amazingly handsome, beautiful sculptures, living sculptures ever made by God or whoever is in charge of the place. Just a handsome, handsome, handsome dude, and he would remind us of that frequently, and that was part of his beauty and charm. But he was, we all know that he conscientious objector Vietnam. People got there either loved him for that. Bill Russell's fully supported Muhammad Ali. But lots of people got their panties in a bunch. And I understand, if you fought in Vietnam, you fought in Korea, you're one of my other heroes, you're Dwight David Eisenhower. And you're like, yeah, I support your free speech, but I've fought in every freaking war, and you know, I've been killing Germans longer than you've been breathing, Cassius. Now, Mohammed, whatever. People can feel however they want to feel about the conscientious objector part, but as far as civil rights and pushing, he um, he did his part. The anecdote that he shared in that clip from uh, 60s, I guess, was uh, uh, going in, returning to his hometown with his medal. His hometown is Louis Louisville. Don't say Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, right? Which is Kentucky kind of look on the map and it's, we could say centrally located, whatever, but it's still the South. It's South in a lot of that mentality. Uh, been there quite a few times, and they do some pretty cool things with horses in that part of the world. But that's Ali's hometown, and the interviewer was asking him about a story that he had heard saying, "Is this true, Mohammed, that you returned to town with your medal? Did that make you popular?" And he said, "When I won my gold medal in the Olympics and returned to Louisville, then that was a period of time when uh, Black civil rights leaders were doing sit-ins for the simple, the being asked." Asking to be shown the dignity of being able to spend their money at a lunch counter and buy a sandwich and not being excluded because there were still signs up that's no blacks allowed. And that's water fountains and the remnants of Jim Crow that were very much alive there and all over the country. So yeah, so he Mohammed, and I'll try to repost this in the feed, the Substack feed, because like I said, I think I did it on IG. I'm not sure. Mohammed said, "Yeah, I wore my medal, and I went into a restaurant, and I had my medal on, and the waitress came over, and I said, I'd like a cheeseburger." And the waitress said, "We don't serve Negroes here." And Mohammed, apparently without missing a beat, said, "Well, I don't eat them either. I'm just looking for a cheeseburger." So, you know, that's he was, his later years, Parkinson's, except was it also the traumatic brain injury, the ECT, except whatever that is, the encephalopathy, uh, what so many of the NFL players are suffering from. Sure, but it was, it was Parkinson's disease that eventually took his life and afflicted him profoundly through his later years. But when he was a young man, and I used to in Miami, I used to work out in a gym that was then when I was there. I think it was called the Fifth Street Gym because big surprise, it was on the corner of Fifth Street and Collins, right? And it was an old boxing gym, and now it's probably $1,000 a week to join and spa services or something. But it was a great old boxing gym, and there were lots of tributes to Customato and all of the old school people in the Muhammad Ali universe. And so he was as long for the years that he was able to be a loud advocate for things, that he was physically able to do that, he was, and continued to do that, and we thank him very much for that. Two more to go, and then I'll. Did I mention this is this is a beautiful sunny day? It's free. It's 33 degrees or something. It's not warm, but it is sunny and beautiful in northern Massachusetts, and I'm a uh, a very unexciting beverage, but grateful for a pretty day. So not two more, but three more in two packages of my Black History Month through athletes who were civil rights icons in their own right. So Jackie Robinson, if you didn't get the memo, uh, Jackie Robinson. Did Jackie Robinson, was he the man solely responsible for integrating professional baseball? There's a little, some people like to get very technical. There was a man who played for Toledo 60 years before Jackie Robinson. And I'm just blanking on the man's name, but he played for the Toledo, I think they were the Toledo something Sox. And he, which was part of the, before the American League, it was the American Conference. That was before the AL and the NL combined around the turn of that next century to become MLB. And that gentleman who played for less than a year in Toledo, the reason that he played for less than a year is that the big star, a transcendent player that was there at the same time, and we're talking about not too long after the end of the Civil War, 1880s, right? So this gentleman played, and when he was injured, the star player on the team made a statement to his team and the league that he wasn't going to play any longer against any black players. So, because the man that was making this unprincipled racist stand was just about the biggest thing since sliced white bread in baseball, then when he said that he wasn't going to play in any city where that whole thing, and if you draft another black player, I'm not going to play against that team either. That at that point, the league, the owners in the league stopped. There were still the Negro leagues, but as far as their efforts to integrate quote unquote Major League Baseball in the latter part of the 18th century were stopped, you know. So, um, from 19th century, excuse me. So that was a brief uh, uh, statistical anomaly on the argument that Jackie Robinson integrated baseball. But for all intents and purposes, because of the size of his personality and his skill level, he did integrate baseball. The other thing that Jackie did, he met his wife, Rachel, around 1940 at UCLA. Jackie was I guess at some point in high school, I guess I had a letter in three sports, right? Because I could play enough football, played lacrosse well enough, and then didn't suck. I was a dabbler in the winter. I played basketball one year, but I went to a school where basketball was extraordinarily competitive, and I wasn't that good. Another year, I played hockey, wasn't that good. Great at plant hockey, but who isn't? And I was probably drinking already. I mean, I was 16, so that's old enough in some parts of the world. And then I wrestled the other year in an effort to stay in shape and not get fat in the winter to be a better lacrosse player, basically. So what did I wrestle? 167. Didn't win any Olympic medals, but I think I collected a couple letters. Um, there I am trumping this up and trying to make it about me. But Jackie Robinson was, uh, 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 in sharp contrast to yours truly, was a four sport athlete, lettering in all sports. They couldn't take the letters off. Right? He was a great football player. In fact, led the league, which at that point was the Southern Pacific, whatever UCLA played in the four. This was at a time before the U.S. was even fully involved in the Second World War, which Jackie served his country honorably. But he met Rachel at UCLA. He was a great. He had some records and league notoriety for being a punt returner, right? Like not a good athlete, a great athlete. Winter, right? He was played basketball. He was notable in their conference as led the team in scoring and rebounds. Great athlete. Baseball, you've probably heard the rumors. He was, a transcendent baseball player that did many things that no human, black, white, or otherwise, could do. And somewhere in between, he ran track. and won he held a record at UCLA for an extended period of time in a long jump. Where do you find the time, right? He was, but we know him as a great baseball player, and he married really well. So his wife, Rachel, which is one of the great, albeit short, love stories, because Jackie died a very young man, because of some heart problems and diabetes. He died a very young man. I think he was. Was he 61? Uh, he was very young. Jackie was very young when he died. But he was not extremely vocal in the area of civil rights while he was a player, because think about it, you are a trend setter. You are a leader in integrating a largely white sport. I mean, all of the sports white at that time. You have to make decisions to keep your head a little bit closer below the parapet, and not be shaking everything up at all times, because you got to do your day job, right? You got to play the game. And Jackie was playing at a time when players on his own team and on other teams were virulent racists, and would make life very difficult for him, and throwing things on the field, and just looking back at the sun to make sure it's not going on the camera. Yeah, so he faced it, all of the horrible things you could think. I mean, people face horrible things now, but we're talking about 80 years ago, right? So he was under assault at all times. But when he retired, he joined the NAACP. He spoke out. He was a member of. If he was invited to be a member of a commission, a march, to speak about integrating baseball more effectively, he did it all. He did it all, and with a sort of a quiet dignity that he was known for throughout his entire life. And Rachel, his wife, who I'm gonna, so they were. I'm gonna guess that 40, 30, 20. Yeah. So Rachel, I think, maybe died a decade ago. She lived a very long life, and she was very involved in civil rights her entire life. After his passing, she was dedicated. She was trained in college as a nurse, but she was very, very involved in empowering young people, and as a voice for equality and integration. She was a true champion, and for that reason, she gets it's the first couples Mount Rushmore placement, my personal Mount Rushmore. So we've got Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, the Robinsons, right? And then my number one, just because it's like a sentimental favorite to me, is Wilma Rudolph. Right? Childhood polio, fought through that, and think about the misogynistic, racist, absolutely, constant pressure her entire life. She was the first, I think, the first female for certain, but maybe even the first Olympic athlete. And to win 3 golds at one Olympic Games. So she did that, whether she was the first woman or the first athlete or the first African American, whatever that turns out to be. It was great, you know. And I know I skip over a lot of people and brave people that hold up their fist with a black glove, and John Carlos, right? And in that was in the Olympics in Mexico City, right? Mexico, having some issues. Yeah, so I am not leaving anybody out to disrespect, because there are too many wonderful examples. And if you want to go contemporary and say LeBron James is a great advocate for equity in sports, you are right. But he's a relative newcomer, and he's not a uh, he is not a loud champion. And these are my list, not my holiday, my list. Uh, so Ms. Rudolph, she continued, like, win the medals, and then when her, when hometown offered to throw a celebration, and she said only if it's integrated, and that was her entire life, right? And she, yeah, childhood polio, fighting through that to win, you know, not to win a chess match, to win a foot race. Yeah, just actually long jump too, right? But yeah, I mean, think about the extraordinary drive just to beat polio, and then to compete at that level. So that's why she gets my top spot, and my tribute today to the waning days of Black History Month in February 2026, until Donald Trump finds a month that is only 1 week long, because that's the kind of guy he is. Then my Mount Rushmore is Ms. Wilma Rudolph, um, Jackie and Rachel Robinson, Muhammad Ali, and Bill Russell. So that's my Mount Rushmore of uh, African American athletes that distinguished themselves in the area of civil rights during and or after their career, and we're grateful to all of them. And a tribute is when they are meeting at Athletes Valhalla right now, and they're like, "Hey, did you hear about the cracker from northern Massachusetts that's doing it?" No, probably not the top of the agenda at the Valhalla luncheon meeting. But we do what we can do, and particularly when there are so many people, not just Donald J. Trump, but the people that enabled him, the entire Republican Party. Yes, even the Toms like Clarence Thomas and Tim Scott, all of those people, right? The ones that are a disgrace every single day. Then we have to be a little bit louder on behalf of our fellow citizens and say, no, no, not acceptable. We're not doing this. You're the president today. You're elected to serve for, uh, it's not 3 years, it's less than 3 years. Thank God, but only a little bit. And so there's a lot more damage that can be done. But we're going to keep saying no, not acceptable. We're not we're not down with this. We're not co-signing any of this sort of behavior. It is not acceptable. If there are people in the country that quietly support you or loudly support the racism for the sake of racism and cruelty, we don't support them either. We don't have to hate them. We don't ever we never suggest that violence is an answer, but a chorus of however you want to do it. Fuck no, not on my watch. That's acceptable, and that is sort of a simple, very short, with a nice ring to it, unifying message that we can carry into the midterm elections, and we will do that proudly and have a decisive win there. Decisive win in the legislature. Can we do it in the House, and can we do it in the Senate? The Senate's going to be tough. Keep fighting. Win those state seats. Win those judge appointments where judges are elected in states. The freaking voting boards that are, electoral, like the victories earlier this year in Georgia. You know, every little bit helps. Stay engaged. Keep fighting. But think about, in your own loud or quiet way, think about your Black History Month civil rights champion, sports or otherwise, and fight me in the comments. And appreciate you all, and I will take the beautiful four-legged assassin for a little walk to enjoy the beautiful day. And we will connect sometime tomorrow. Thank you for your time and for your day.